Well, the Biden administration released its GREET model this week. Guidance for the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Subsidy Program that allows corn-based ethanol to qualify if it's sourced from farms using climate-friendly growing techniques to qualify. The feedstock, corn, soybeans, have to be grown using no-till, cover cropping, and fertilizer applications that hold carbon in the soil. Agriculture and ethanol were excited that the Biden administration finally released a GREET model, but turns out nobody was really excited about the results. Talking now with Growth Energy CEO Emily Skor. Emily, thanks so much for your time. You were quoted as saying the administration's all-or-nothing approach to recognizing the value of climate-smart agricultural practices may ultimately limit innovation. And then you said, overall, SAF carbon reduction is probably going to be left on the table because of these criteria. Give us what your thinking is now that you've gotten a chance to digest it. What are your thoughts?
All right. So from a big picture perspective, on the one hand, this is really a landmark achievement because for the first time you have a regulatory scheme is recognizing that the practices that farmers use on the farm can actually reduce carbon intensity. So that's a big step. Another big step is that we are actually using the GREET model, which is the best gold standard model for modeling carbon intensity of ethanol in farming. We're actually using it in federal tax policy. So those are the real exciting milestones that we've achieved with the announcement.
Right.
And where you're hearing our frustration is, okay, thank you for the recognition, but it's overly restrictive. And you can't be prescriptive to the farmer. And you're hearing a lot of that kind of feedback from the farmers. So we have to think of this as the first step in a conversation that will continue. And the more we talk with them, I think what we are looking toward is there's another tax credit coming. This is the one that starts taking effect January of next year. Right now, most farmers in the country can't do all three of those things at the same time on their farm. Yeah. So it's got to give them flexibility.
And I'm glad you said that this is just the start, because I think a lot of people thought that this was like, okay, we're waiting for it. It was late, and all this anticipation builds up and then it comes out. But this is just the start. This isn't the last chapter.
No, it's the first chapter. So the conversations that have already started taking place this week are, okay, we've got the first one out. Thank you. We know where we stand. These are the ways that we have to improve. We need more flexibility. We need to account for more of the innovation throughout the value chain so that you're really government sending a very strong, indisputable signal to the marketplace. If you guys innovate, we will recognize it, and we're in this together.
There's been a lot of frustration around this, not just the SAF part of it, but E15 year-round, they come out with that. This falls into my, watch what they do, not what they say department, and that is they come out with this year-round E15 and then delay it until next year. And it's like, why? If it's good enough, then it's good enough. Let's get on with it, right? So I was really glad to hear that all of the organizations involved have pulled together, and I was very excited to share with my farmers this week the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Coalition. Great to see everybody in the chain pulling together so that we can kind of move together to deal with the federal government.
Yes, it's wonderful. We are part of this new, the SAF Coalition, Sustainable Aviation Fuel Coalition. You've got, I think, over 40 companies involved. But, we've been working together for a while. This past fall, 70 different companies from agriculture, from aviation, biofuels, also sent a letter to the administration. We're all saying the same thing. And sustainable aviation fuel is a new frontier. It's a new market opportunity for so many of us. But we need the right signals from government. We need government to give us the right kinds of tax incentives because it's expensive as capital investment at the outset. We need some assistance. But what's really fantastic is we are walking into government offices holding hands in a way that we've never seen this before.
Yeah.
The diversity of support between airlines and biofuels and the petroleum industry as well, who wants to be able to offer this. So it's an exciting milestone, this coalition, that we're a united force.
Yeah. A couple of confusing things this week. One of them was that this Brazilian company sending sugarcane ethanol into the U.S. to a jet fuel plant. Hold it. You're giving us all this criteria that we have to follow along, but yet Brazil, our number one competitor, is sending ethanol into the country to a jet fuel plant?
You are absolutely right to be scratching your head and trying to figure out how on earth it is that this is happening. And here's the truth of the matter. Our U.S. tax policy right now is giving an advantage to Brazilian sugarcane ethanol over U.S. corn ethanol. And that's the way the modeling is working out. And so part of what we need to do in this next phase of conversation is make sure that we really kind of raise the alarm on that and make sure that the lawmakers and the policymakers understand that can't possibly be what they want. You're right. That's what's happening. So we've got to rectify that for the next plant, don't we?
Yeah. And one last thing before we let you go, give us an update on what's going on with year-round E15.
Well, good news is this summer, we can keep saving on E15, but that's for this summer. So we got a temporary waiver for this summer. We've done it 3 summers in a row. We still need a federal fix so that we don't have to talk about this anymore. So that's an act of Congress. We've got bills that have been introduced. We have the support of Republicans and Democrats. We have the House and the Senate. We actually have the support of a big part of the fuel supply chain, including petroleum producers, that they finally are starting to see, you know what, give consumers access to this fuel, let them make the choice. So good news for the summer. Next summer, 8 Midwestern states, they've opted out. So these 8 governors have said, enough EPA, we want to go our own way, but only those 8 states. And we need all 50 to be included. So more work to be done.
Emily Skor, Growth Energy CEO, it is always a delight to have a conversation with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Podcasts by Federated Media.